Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to episode 25 of the Wolves Report. I'm Ryan Lester, and I'm joined by Mark Knock and Chris Tyler. Sorry for the delay, it's been a while, but thanks for your messages. Unfortunately, I've been ill, so hopefully we can make it today. Today we're going to talk about, we're going to round up March games. We're going to talk about Max Kilman's exclusion from the England squad. We're going to talk about player criticism and booing in light of the Harry Maguire incident the other night. Take plenty of your questions and looking ahead to the Villa game. So let's take ourselves back to a happier time. Let's talk about Watford 4, Wolves 0. Feels like a long time ago now. Jimenez, own goal, Daniel Podence and Ruben Neves wrapped up a very comprehensive. I mean, the game was over before it started, wasn't it, Knocker? So, but back in a happy place where Wolves won 4-0, Knocker.
Yeah, I don't think we saw what come after that, did we? But it was, an exceptional performance. I think we were 3 up in, 20-odd minutes. Just took them apart, didn't we? I thought the way that we performed against what was a very, very poor Watford team was we did our job perfectly, did exactly what we needed to do. We killed the game off very quickly, and obviously Ben Foster's had the moment of the season for us, hasn't he, with an absolute wobbler. And then Ruben Neves scores that goal, doesn't he? So, yeah, fantastic performance. Well-deserved 3 points. And at that point, we looked like we were in a really, really good place, didn't we? But, what can you say?
Yeah, I mean, the game was over before it started, really. Wolves didn't really have to do much to score those opening 3 goals. The first goal was a nice finish from Jimenez in the turn, but the Ben Foster moment, in terms of the pantomime villain coming back to Molineux, he said in his podcast he hated coming to Molineux. He's almost advertising himself, give me stick and I'll flap it. And that's what happened, isn't it, Knocker?
Yeah, it was one of my highlights of the season, to be honest, the whole performance. Because I think, as far as Ben Foster goes, it's very much pantomime, isn't it, a lot of the time? I mean, I know he spoke about how it's hate from the Wolves fans and how it's aggressive and it's nasty. But one thing Wolves fans are quite good at is we don't generally go personal, and it's all quite banterish, I think, what he gets. But some of the comments he's made in the past, when you think to the FA Cup semi-final against Watford, the tweets he puts out after that, I think sometimes karma does come round and bite you on the backside, doesn't it? It absolutely did in that game, because it was a horrendous clearance. He ends up on his backside and gets up just in time to watch Podence dink it into the back of the net. So, but yeah, I thought performance-wise, I mean, you can only beat what's in front of you, can't you? And Watford were abysmal, if we're being totally honest. But I thought the way we played, the fast one-touch football, the triangles in midfield, the movement from the wide positions, and the goals we scored as well, I thought they were all well-worked, good goals. And it was a real solid performance. It was a real good display from what looked like a really good Premier League team. And, Raul's goal was nicely taken, I think. But when you look at Neves and that finish and the arrogance and the way he just sidesteps a defender, and I mean, what's Foster, 2 yards off his line? Maybe
it's an
3.
incredible finish. Absolutely exquisite, that is.
How would you do that to someone from that kind of range when he's not in a bad position? He's covering his near post, as you'd expect a goalkeeper to do.
I don't think anyone stops that. It doesn't matter who's in goal for that. It's just,
you don't expect it.
It might sound bizarre, and I know we go to football to watch goals, but I actually enjoyed the second half more because we were that in control, the little 1-2s, playing it round. It was nice to watch a half of football, 3-0 up, cruising, and the team expressing themselves. Yes, we probably could have gone on and got more, but the football in that second half for me was it was a pleasure. It was like men v boys, showing what we've got, skills on display. But yeah, I was delighted with that. But let's move on to a happier day, Tyler, that wasn't so far away before we move on to Leeds. You boys went up together to Everton, where it ended at Everton 0, Wolves 1. Connor Cody with a fantastic header. It was a tough game. It was always going to be a tough game. Everton are in trouble for a reason, but it's never an easy place to go. They're just on the end of an absolute spanking against Spurs, I think it was. So it was going to be a tough game. But again, a Premier League game, away from home, a clean sheet, a win, and Connor Cody scoring against his boyhood rivals, Tyler.
Yeah, like you said, it was great. I mean, the day started well with Knocker's breakfast sandwich, so I picked him up.
Tell us more about that.
You could have fed a small family from this one sandwich, to be honest. I've never seen so
it wasn't vegan friendly, was it?
In my whole life. Yeah, you'd have struggled, Ryan, with it being vegan. But I think there were 16 sausages, about 14 hash browns. But great start to the day. And you sort of knew from then it was going to be good. But the game itself, I mean, the first half was dire, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a poor first half.
It was both teams were as bad as each other. Richarlison had that chance where he could have scored, Sarr did well, but that was probably the only event of that. But second half, I don't know what Bruno said at half time, but we were totally transformed.
It was
team.
Different side, yeah.
Yeah, Dendoncker was sort of pushed a little bit further forward and out wide, and I thought he had a really good half. Neves just took control of the game. Podence was getting in the little pockets. It was the Wolves that you're sort of used to seeing a little bit more, while being very solid at the back. And yeah, the goal was brilliant, wasn't it? I mean, we said knock it in. It just one of those where it just came out of nothing, really, And what a header! I mean, yeah, it's almost a striker's header, isn't it? The way he got the power into it, beat Pickford, and we felt comfortable. I don't think Everton ever really looked like scoring and leveling the game. And I think in the end we were, probably just about deserved to take the 3 points home. But like you said, if you go away from home in any game in the Premier League and you win and you keep a clean sheet, it doesn't really get much better, does it, than that? So, yeah, happy days.
Yeah, so the stats saying, I mean, we had double the shots that Everton had. Wolves had 13 shots, they had 7. Wolves had 62%. It was a dominant 1-0 performance after a poor first half. But as you said, Tyler, that second half, for me, was very it reminded me of Spurs away in the first half. It was just a total control. Neves running things. I think it was three across midfield, wasn't it? With Dendoncker playing that supporting role.
It was a little bit further up.
Which he did really well. And I mean, Dendoncker's improved for me. I think he probably doesn't score enough goals for what we do, but we know what we get with Dendoncker. But his away performance at Spurs, his away performance at Everton.
Brentford as well.
In a three-man midfield, I think Dendoncker needs to be in that team. Now, whether we see much of that with Neves being out probably for the most of the rest of the season, I don't know. But finishing off on that Everton game, it was a very comprehensive 1-0. I mean, I want to talk about that goal as well. I don't think I've ever seen Conor Cody header a ball clean, as crisp as that header. You're only as good as probably the cross you put in, and the cross was perfect from Neves. But that header, it was like prime Willy Bolly. It was just the way he's glanced it across. It was fantastic. So tell me about that away and when that went in.
Well, what you could see from it, because obviously it's the shakiest stand you've ever seen. I'm just glad it was scored at that end because we couldn't see the goal at the other end, could we, Knocker? So that was a benefit. But it just sort of came out of the blue. Second half had just started. Dendoncker won the free kick initially, so I was going to give him a shout out for that as well. Again, getting higher up the pitch, and we hadn't looked like scoring. So when the goal came there, obviously, it was brilliant, and obviously with him being from up there, and he celebrated it quite well, didn't he, in front of us? But then
good celebration.
And then, like I said, it was a striker's header. It was what you'd expect probably Jimenez in his prime was doing, wasn't he, a couple of years ago? So he couldn't have done any better with it. And like I said, from then on, we were comfortable. We probably had a couple of half chances. We had 13 shots, like you say, but I don't remember Pickford really having to make a save.
I think Jimenez. I think Neves put a free kick in where Jimenez sort of was volleying it across himself a little bit. That was probably the other chance. I mean, it was reminiscent to when we won at Everton 3 years ago and won 3-1, and Jimenez did that running. Then that sort of is that the same sort of kind of free kick. But for me, I mean, it was a very much enjoyable win. I like winning any game of football. I really wanted to win that one. Doubling Everton is always nice. So yeah, absolutely a thoroughly enjoyable performance.
I don't think Bruno got enough credit for that either, because I think the first half there was some real murmurings in the away end when the team was announced, but for me it looked right. It looked like we set up properly. To just when you're playing a team who've just come off back of a bit of a spanking, they're going to try and put you under pressure in the first half. And I thought that he kept us 10 yards further back in that first 45 just to control what they were doing. And then second half, you could see everyone just move forward 10 yards, just start putting them under a little bit more pressure. And I thought tactically, Bruno got that one absolutely spot on. He got a really, real good decision making from him.
Well, as we said, any away winning the Premier League, doesn't matter who you're playing, and a clean sheet is fantastic. It is one of the toughest leagues in Europe. Some footballers come over here and fail, so you can't disrespect any opposition, regardless if they're flirting with relegation, whoever. It's a great result, and I'm absolutely delighted. So 2 wins on the spin after 3 losses on the spin. Let's move on to Leeds United now. I think we've probably needed this amount of time for Knocker to calm down, because Knocker said some words on the group chat that I've never seen before that I had to Google, and I can't repeat them because I don't want to spend time explaining myself for the terrible things that he said. But for me, that was a complete giveaway of a game that we were in total control of, that we dominated, that we were clearly the better side. I tweeted at half time, I know it's 2-0, but this game should be dead and buried. It should be 3 or 4-0. And just as it happened, we paid the price. But for me, there's a couple of things that went wrong in that game. We imploded after the red card. Now, it's never a red card. I've spoke to online. We spoke to Keith Hackett, who's hopefully we'll speak to further again on the show soon. Another referees. Football's a physical game. Two blokes can run for the ball together. You're never going to connect at the same time. So, and I'm not going to blame the result on that totally, because I think tactically, as well as he did at Everton, he failed himself there, because as soon as you lose the focal point of the team, you take a man off, and we needed Hwang on or Fabio on to try and make it stick for a bit. We invited them on, and we got what we deserved. Right, everyone take cover. Knocker, let's have your take on the Leeds game.
Yeah, I kind of disagree with you, actually. I do entirely blame that decision for the result, because up to that point, we are in full cruise control. We're 2-0 up.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
We are in absolutely no danger of losing that football match. It's going to maybe be 3, could be 4. I thought it was easier than the Watford game in the first half. I don't think Leeds threatened at all. I thought we were absolutely comfortable. Yes, we imploded after that decision, but the whole implosion was because of that decision.
Yeah, that's fair.
It was an absolutely horrendous decision to make. I mean, I know we all have our tinted glasses on when we talk about our team, but I've seen it probably 50 times the same as everybody else, and I just can't see where he even finds a foul for it. You got your goalkeeper steaming out the box like that.
There's one player that's out of control, and it's the goalkeeper.
It's the goalkeeper.
He's come out flying. But the thing is, though, with that challenge, and this is where for me VAR is wrong, because I think you should be checking second yellows again, because as you said, Knocker, and I hold my hands up, and you are right on that. It totally changed the outlook of the game. Yes, Leeds got to come and win it, and yes, we imploded, but that doesn't happen without that decision happening. Now, you've got to be pretty sure if you're sending a player off. Now, if ex-Premier League officials and players are talking about it not being a yellow card, well, it's probably not a yellow card. You're allowed to make a challenge, an honest challenge in football without it being a foul. Yes,
he doesn't make a challenge, though, does he? He doesn't make a challenge.
He turned his leg away. So, I mean, I thought I'd calm about it. I haven't been very well, and now I'm angry about it again.
it's not so much angry. Referees can make mistakes. I've got no issue with referees making a mistake, but how many times have we had the conversation about VAR that it has an opportunity to win people round by getting involved in these kind of situations? You know, the referee at normal pace, he might have seen something that we haven't seen. The lino obviously hasn't seen it the way that we've seen it.
Knocker. He couldn't wait.
That card was in his hand before he got there.
He could not wait to send him off. He didn't think and stop. Okay, Jimenez hasn't changed his direction. He's running a straight line. The keeper's running at an angle at full tilt. 2 professionals going for the ball. No malice. You know what? If you think Jimenez is late, it's a free kick. It's not a booking. No. So
the decisions are throwing. There's a decisions are throwing. That's all it is, because that's where the ball landed. There's no foul from either player. They both have to go for it. Jimenez has to go for it, because if he knocks it past the goalkeeper, he's in a position where we bypass the keeper and we're from an attacking area. The goalkeeper has to clear the ball, otherwise he's let Jimenez in behind him. It's just an impact, just a coming together. It's never in a million years could that be a red card or a yellow card or any kind of decision to even be a foul. I think it was shambolic, absolutely shambolic.
Just before we move to Tyler, then, so how is a professional, supposedly referee, in the most lucrative league in world football with supposedly the best players? How are we continually getting decisions like this again? Jay Martino handball at Man City. Paul Pogba's over-the-top studs, Neves, Man United. Decisions that are costing Wolves again and again and again. Now, this isn't a pity party. I'm not making excuses. Do enough to win the game. That's fine. But at least you expect the officials to do their job correctly. And on those occasions, the Martino one, the Pogba one, and this is just disgraceful. Knocker.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, the 2 decisions you talk about, VAR actually did look at them and decide that they were fine. The Pogba tackle, which for me is bizarre in itself, and handball, which it hits him below the armpit, and it's like we've said. I mean, VAR works around the rest of the world. I've never been a fan of it. I think it's a mess from start to finish, but it works better in other parts of the world. But it's in parts of the world where your referees haven't got the name ingrained on the boots, and they haven't got sponsors and all these different little elements to their game where there's such a sheer arrogance that we just can't be wrong. I mean, the whole setup doesn't work, does it? They send them to go and look at the monitor because, you might want to have a look at this. Why do they even bother doing that? Just tell them to overrule the decision. It's just a boys' club, isn't it? It's jobs for boys.
It feels, Knocker, and I know we're going to talk about VAR a lot, and we're going to want to get Tyler's take on the game as well in a minute, but it really feels like over here in this league, it's being used as a tool to protect your buddies. And this clear and obvious nonsense, I don't care if it's clear and obvious. No one, it shouldn't matter. It wasn't obvious to it. It doesn't matter. Was it a free kick, yes or no? Was it a second yellow card, yes or no? Was it a penalty, yes or no? No one cares if you can see or it wasn't obvious, because that's you're using the tool to protect your mates. It's there to make the game fairer, to protect the smaller guys so we all get treated the same, when it's actually being used to treat the opposite.
Did you see the interview with the referee after the game about it?
I'm not sure which referee, mate.
The referee give the decision?
No.
Kevin Friend? No, because there wasn't one. And that's the whole point. There's no culpability.
Very good.
That's what I was going to say.
There's no culpability at all.
Why aren't they coming out and explaining why they've given the decision?
You make a mistake.
Hackett disagreed. Dermot Gallagher on the Sky News, who's probably the most, well-regarded Premier League referee, said it wasn't a yellow. Where's he then to come out and say, well, maybe looking back it's not, and I might have got it wrong, but I sent him off for this reason. And then I think we'd all probably think, yeah, you know what?
Yeah.
Fair enough. We all, like you said, we all make mistakes in our job. We all do. But where there is none of that. If I make a mistake at work, I'll have to justify it to somebody. These guys, though, they just get away with it. And it stinks, doesn't it? I don't want to go on about VAR. I'll talk a bit more about the performance. But the thing I have is I thought it would take away the inconsistency. And if anything, it's added a load more. I think you tweeted the Antonio.
Oh my God!
To the face wasn't even a foul or a yellow card.
Which is a clear red.
Tries to get out the way and get sent off. I mean, there's just no consistency whatsoever in the decision making. That's the bit that I think all football fans find difficult, is the lack of consistency.
Yeah, just going on to the game. I mean, we could talk about VAR all day, and when we get we are going to have some referees come on the show and talk as well. So some ex-Premier League referees. Looking forward to that happening. What's okay? So as you said, Knocker, let's park the decision, and let's say he got the red. Let's just say for this instance, the red card was justified, and that happened. Yeah. That defending for those 3 goals. Like, I've seen us 3 have a kick around, okay, and not be that bad. What the panic stations that set in. But the problem is, and I'm going to have to throw it Bruno's way, if the ball keeps coming back and you've not got a focal point, one thing that Fabio has done this year better than he's done before is hold the ball up. The kid now is strong. He can hold the ball up and link the play. But, I mean, he brought Hwang on like 20 minutes too late, 25 minutes after I think Jimenez got sent off. So the game management had gone, the team had gone, everyone's heads had gone, and you could smell it. It was coming. That as soon as they got that goal quickly, you could smell it, and we did nothing about it, Tyler.
But I'm with you at the start of your conversation. I think you can debate whether it's a red card until the cows come home, but I don't care. We're 2-0 up against a team that have got nothing in them with half an hour to go. There is absolutely no excuse to not win that football match. And then to be able the chance to lose the game is just incredible. 2-2, you probably think, oh, you know what? We'll get out of this with a point. And then we managed to go on and lose the game. It was just like nothing you've ever seen before. And I do partly blame Bruno, but he can't condone for individual errors. What Roman Sace was trying to do, volleying that ball, he's got all the time in the world. Just bring the ball down, play it out. Jose Sami, we love the guy. He's been incredible. But what was he doing? Where was he running off to? I mean, Willy Boly just stood there literally looking at the crowd. I mean, Bruno you can blame for not maybe bringing a focal point on, but you can't justify individual errors and mistakes like that. And we were all over the shop. And I think a couple of people said we saw the benefits of having Trincao on offensively and how good we were going forward, but did we miss Neves second half? Because that doesn't happen if Neves is on the pitch. He gets on the ball, he
manages the game, doesn't he? Yeah.
He runs the game, he manages it. But on the flip side, it was 0-0 when he went off, and it was 2-0, red card. So
very fair.
We need to find this balance of scoring goals and keeping clean sheets. It seems to be, to me, we sort of do one or the other. We'll keep a clean sheet and we'll nick a game 1-0, or we were more open and then we let 3 goals in. But Bruno for me is partly to blame, but I'm looking at the defenders there. I think some of the defending was, like you said, park stuff, Sunday morning stuff. I've seen better on a Sunday morning.
Yeah, I agree. Well, let's try and pull one positive from the game, and let's talk about Trincao, because that's the Trincao I thought we were signing from Barcelona. The footwork, the setup, the goal, the composure for the finish was beautiful. That's the guy that we thought we were signing at the start of the season. Now, there's lots of paper talk going on at the moment. I think Wolves and Barcelona are having a public game of chess about who can afford what and who's swapping and who prefers and what they're doing. I think, as you guys both said, it looks like I may be wrong on this one, but I just can't see how Wolves would not have done it. But I think Barcelona playing the game, they're really leaning for the Trincao swap. Or I think there's Ricky Pugh, I think that you say his name. He's a potential swap as well. I like the look of him. If it was either of those and a swap, I'd still take it, because Adama isn't signing. I think it's the fact that we feel that they've had our pants down a little bit and we've got no control of this transfer. They're telling us what we're doing with our player and we haven't really got a say. I know
we knew Adama wasn't going to sign though, didn't we? We knew that. So how can you?
New business,
that's not new. He hasn't suddenly gone there and said, "Actually, I don't want to come back." So how have we allowed ourselves to get put into a corner like this when all the chips are in our corner? We could have said to him, "All right, you can have him at the end of the season for 5 million less, but he's going to stay with Wolves." There's no benefit. There's not one benefit to this deal for Wolves at all. There's been absolutely nothing. We didn't negotiate a fair price for him. We didn't negotiate a guarantee contract at the end of it.
You don't think 29.5 million was fair price?
We didn't. But they're not going to pay that, though, are they? That's the thing.
No, what I'm saying, they did negotiate that, because that's the deal. If he signed, that was the monetary fee that was agreed. So I do think that was a fair price.
But Wolves won't pay it. We're not going to get that money, are we? That's the whole point. If you get an obligation on it, they have to pay that. If I get to the end of the season, they know, okay, he's got 12 months left on his deal. Yeah, we don't want to pay 29 million anymore. So what we'll actually do, we'll pay 15 million, and we'll give you maybe Trincao for another season on loan. They've got every single bargaining chip with them now, because we've got nothing that we can negotiate with. Because all that happens is we say, no, we don't want to let him go for 10 million quid. All right, Sam, we'll wait till Christmas then and we'll get him on a pre-contract. We've got no negotiating tools at all.
Just a quick question for you both. And I know we talk about this a lot, and it's really split the fan base on social media. But do you guys honestly believe that a company as powerful, as successful, and as ruthless as Fosun would have done this without any guarantees? And what I would say as well is, would we know any publicly? Publicly, they can't agree to sign anybody, because that comes off this year's financial agreements they've made, which means they can't sign. So if you agree to sign someone at the end of this loan, it comes out of this year's budget, which they couldn't afford to do because of the financial restrictions that they found themselves under. But do you guys really think that we've done this for absolutely no reason, with no sort of wink, wink, nudge, nudge, we'll definitely get this done? Do you think that that's happened and there's nothing going to come our way?
Yes, purely because we've gone with the handshake, haven't we? The gentleman's agreement that this is what we'll do at the end of the season, and we've believed in the integrity of Barcelona, the same Barcelona who were trying to join the Super League and destroy football as we know it. So we've made a deal with the devil, and we've been absolutely caught out on the back of it. I mean, maybe it'll all come round, and maybe they will pay the money for him, but why would there be all this noise now? Why would there be all this talk if we'd already agreed this is what's going to happen?
Do you not think, though, this is just a public game of chess, and a deal of somewhat is inevitable? It's just everyone's sort of shouting out this is what they want to do and putting it public, because we don't know what's happening, do we?
Well, flip it back to you, right? Flip it back to you. Do you think we're going to get £29.5 million for him?
No, but I think Adama Traore in the summer will become a Barcelona player. I don't know what will come our way. I don't think it'll be money, and I'm not sure if it'll be Trincao. But I think there'll be
you've answered your own question, then, haven't you? Because if the contract was there with the fee, and now they're not going to pay a fee, you've answered your own question that the deal was never done.
No, I think personally the price and the value was put on Adama to appease us, to say this is what he's worth, this is what we'll get, and they value Trincao at 25 million euros. So there's a pretty much like for like with a couple of million going the other way on the table there potentially. So do I think Adama will be a Barcelona player next season full time? Yes. Do I think we'll get money? No. But I do think there'll be.
Let me ask you then, Roy. I'll ask
I'm
you.
getting peppered here, lads.
If in that January window when we let him go, do you think £29 million was a fair price?
I'd have been happy with 30 million, yeah. So about
okay. So when we get to the end of this season, are we going to get £29 million worth of value from this deal?
No.
So we've been over then, haven't we? Whichever way you look at it, but we didn't agree the deal, and we've been caught out on the back of it.
So if, and I know I've talked about this Ricky Pugh guy a few times, if him and Trincao both come to Wolves, and we paid a little bit on top, which would probably be fair because he's not worth both those players. I like Adama, but he's not. And if we paid a bit on top and got those players, I am very, very happy with that deal. Very happy.
Right.
And
it's not the deal that we were all told about, is it?
No, and I agree. Deal. But I think Wolves will get a deal and we will sell Adama. Whether it becomes via cash, I see that as very unlikely. But just going on just to Trincao 1 second, mate. Neto took a good 6 months to settle into English football, maybe longer. But maybe Trincao is doing that now. Now, Trincao, as we've seen, he's one of the most technically gifted players in that squad by a mile. He does things so naturally. Maybe now he's settled in and it's his time to kick on. And I hope that is the case. Coming out of West Ham, Knocker, we never wanted to see him again. And now I want to sign him. But that's football. You know what I mean? We flip our opinions all the time. And I'm happy to hold my hands up on that. So, yeah, go on, Knocker.
No, I mean, I've got no issue with what you're saying. If we get those two players, that's great. But are we basing bringing Trincao in on the back of a 45-minute performance against Leeds, which is the first time he scored or assisted all season? Are we assuming that that's the Trincao we're going to get going forward?
He's a good player. I've said it from day one. He's a good footballer.
He's a footballer, isn't he? He's pure.
He's had a good 45 minutes, hasn't he? That's the reality of it.
No, those first 3 games.
He was good the first 3 games. He was.
Tell me,
everyone
wasn't thinking of signing new Messi.
Yeah, he was. He was good those first 3 games. He was good.
He looked great, but that was his first goal involvement since he's been at the club. I'm not saying he's not a good player, but I'm saying if we're putting all our eggs in that basket, of course we're going to lose Adama. Adama will never play for Wolves again. But if we're fully relying on signing Trincao on the back of a 45-minute performance now and saying we get him and we get the other lad, then that's a great deal for us. I need to see more from him in the remaining games. If we play Villa and he rips them apart, then yeah, great stuff. Let's get him in. But if he goes back,
you're getting a Trincao tattoo, son. If we beat Villa and he scores,
where have I got to get it, son? if he scores a winner against Villa, yeah, it's all right. I will.
Have you seen enough Wang that you want to sign him?
No chance.
But we still signed him. You know, we could talk about it till we're blue in the face. The decisions don't lie with us, do they?
Well, let's just finish off. I mean, that was a really good chat then. I enjoyed that. Let's just finish off the Leeds game then. And I want to bring some questions in. Some people have tweeted some questions in. I want to get them some really good points. So ultimately, I agree with Knocker. The decision totally turned the game round. It was an unjust decision and that cost Wolves. But taking it further past that,
you can't lose your heads like that.
You cannot lose your heads like that. So we have to first blame the official, which I'm going to happily do so. But equally, we've got to blame ourselves because with 25 minutes to go, half an hour to go, at 2-0 up, you should not be losing that game. Even if you're drawing that game, you're mad, but not as mad as that. But anyway, let's move on to some questions. Daz Hale, guest of the show from BBC WM, has asked, should the club offer new deals this summer to Sace and Moutinho? Knocker, you can have that first one.
Moutinho, yes. I will give him a new deal. Sace, not for me. I'd move. I'd look
Tell me
at
why.
moving him on now. I like him, but I think there's been a lot of cracks appearing in his game since he's come back from the African Cup of Nations. Look, he's a good player, isn't he? But he's going to want probably a bigger contract to stay. I think we've got players coming through now. Bolly's starting to look more towards his old self now. We've got Toti Gomez as well. So for me, no.
Yes, and Mosquera.
Yeah. I'd personally, I'd be happy for Sace to move on. As much as I've enjoyed his time at Wolves, and he's always welcome back here as far as I'm concerned. But for me, I would personally be looking to move him on now.
Yeah, I think Sace was having equally as good a season as his championship winning season at left centre back this year. He was fantastic, but for whatever reason, that the trip to the African Cup of Nations it just took him back a couple of pegs, and he's not been the same. So, great question. Thanks for your question, Daz. Hoping Daz will be on the the show again soon. BBC WM's Daz Hale. Jeremy Skidmore tweeted, Raul is not the same player he was and doesn't head the ball. All very understandable, but does he need replacing, or will pre-season see him refreshed? That one's yours, Tyler. Good luck.
Could I have not had the first one? That was a bit
I'm glad I had the first one.
It's your birthday knocker.
Yeah, 50 was it, knock? Yeah.
Feel like it, mate. Yeah.
You know my thoughts on Jimenez. I love him more than my own children, so I'm talking probably a bit with my heart and head here. There's a little bit missing, isn't there? Unfortunately, there's something not quite right with him. Like James said, which is fully understandable. Does he need replacing? I don't think so. I still think there's a place in the squad for him, but can he lead the line, like he did for the first 2 or 3 years in the Premier League? I'm not sure he can anymore, to be honest. I think those days might be coming to an end. Does he need to rotate a bit more with Fabio? We haven't seen a lot of Fabio still, have we, really, this season? You'd like to think a pre-season might get him going again, but I agree with Jeremy. I think there's 5-10% of the old Jimenez not quite there, but for me, he's still a class operator. I still think our best team has him in it, leading the line, holding it up, doing his little flicks. So I haven't really answered the question. Does he need replacing? I'd say no. Is he going to be our main man? I'd say probably not moving forward.
It's a huge risk either way, isn't it? Because we can't do this again next year. We can't have this lack of goals again next season. But then if you bring in...
You've got to play more attacking football to get goals, though.
Well, you have, yeah. But if we go and spend 40 million on a striker,
sorry, mate,
we'll even play.
Let me just jump in with that. Has Jimenez missed a hatful of chances, or has he not really had many chances?
He's missed a few sitters, hasn't he? The Leeds one first half, that was a terrible finish where he was trying to lob the keeper. I remember another couple of finishes where he's tried to almost be clever and dink it, and Jimenez didn't do that before. He'd be 1-on-1 and he'd just lash it, wouldn't he? And but he's also scored some brilliant goals. The
Southampton away.
The dink over Pickford at home was lovely. But it's only lovely when it comes off. That Leeds one, jokes aside, that's 3-0 game buried.
Yeah, 100%.
Whether we go down to 10 men or not. And he just did nothing with the finish. There seems to be a bit of uncertainty in his finishing style now. We knew before, if he got a header or if he was through, goal. And now we're not quite so sure, are we?
For me, because I think he's still comparatively young in football terms. He's not old now. Footballers are playing well into their 30s now. Do I see Raul more likely going to the MLS, being closer to home and having a couple of years? Yes, that's where I see. Would I prefer Raul to stay and have another full pre-season to try and find that edge again? Yes. I'm not ready to lose Raul yet. We're going to have... we'll talk about this in a bit, but we're going to see a bit more of Fabio Silva, I think, in the next 2 games. But I'm not ready to throw the towel in on Raul because, he's still got the assist, got a couple of assists, got a couple of goals recently. So no, I'm not ready to throw the towel on him. Knocker, keeping
Fair
him.
enough, Ryan.
I'm keeping him. Yeah, I think the problem is he's not an easy player to replace, is he? And I think if there's any chance we can get him back to anything like his best, you've got to keep him, haven't you? The risk is, of course, if it doesn't work next season, and again we go with Fabio and Raul, and we're still not scoring goals, what do we do then? So it's a very, very big decision. Either way, I'd like to see another striker come in.
Absolutely. This is another question, and you two are going to love this question. So I'll let you answer it, and you can ask me any questions if you want to. Ryan Mills asks, Morgan Gibbs-White's next season, loan or sell? Now, you notice the way Ryan led it there with not playing, loan or sell, not keeping.
Play, loan or sell. For me, he's got to be knocking on the door of the squad now, hasn't he? He's got to be. If he wasn't Morgan Gibbs-White and he wasn't a Wolves player, we'd all be going, have you seen that guy in the Championship that's ripping it up for Sheffield United for £20-25 million? Or we'd all be saying that. It's only because we sort of know he's got some attitude problems potentially from what we hear. We know he's been given chances out wide and he's not taking them. But if you're going to loan someone for a season and they do well, surely the incentive for that player is that they're knocking on the door to get in the squad. So I don't think he's necessarily a first 11 player, but I think he'll probably be in the squad. So I would probably keep him myself. I haven't answered it because I wouldn't play him, I wouldn't loan him, I wouldn't sell him. I'd have him on the bench. But yeah, I think he's an option to have in the squad next season.
So,
definitely.
like, pushing that over to you, Knocker. If we do keep him, tell me where he's going to play.
I'm with Tyler. I think he deserves an opportunity from the bench. The problem is, I know that we've come out the back of this financial fair play, and everyone thinks we're going to throw money at the team. We're not going to do that. So I think he looks similar to kind of a Gerard Bowen and a Maddison when they came through and got Premier League moves. You know, like you say, if he wasn't a Wolves player, you'd want him at Wolves. And it's the first season he's had to really play. I mean, he was doing well at Swansea and he got himself injured. He's gone to Sheffield United this season. He's played a lot. He had a bit of a rocket from Billy Sharp, but he responded to that really well. And he's come back in and he's scoring goals. We're not a club that are blessed with a massive financial budget for players. So for me, yeah, I want him on the bench and then kind of integrate him into the team the way we have done with Fabio, give him minutes here and there.
What position is he going to play?
I'd love to see him.
He plays in a 10 if you play a back four. But
I'd love to see him in a 10, but I think he'll play wide of the striker.
If Wolves played 4-2-3-1, which I pretty much say that every podcast, make that suggestion, that formation every time. I think he's a 10. I don't think he can play narrow wide in the Premier League. I don't think he's got the pace to do that. I think he's too slow to play wide left or right. But I do think he could play as a 10. I'd like to see him as a 10. But I don't see it changing anytime soon. For Wolves to go to a 4...
If he played 3-5-2, he could play as one of the 3 centre mids, no problem.
I think he plays as a 10 then. I don't think he plays left or right in the middle of a 3. I wouldn't want him in midfield.
But if we have Dendoncker sort of pushing up and going wide right a little bit in those 3, then he's the same. If you've got 2 deep liars, then he can play that role, can't he?
You've got to look as well.
You can't limit him to one position, can you? Like Knocker said, we're not luxurious enough to do that. You know, the Neto, all our wide players and forward players have to be fluid and they have to change. So he either needs to learn to do that, or, like Ryan says, maybe he doesn't get that chance.
But we're going to lose Moutinho. We're probably going to lose Neves as well. I know there's talk of a new contract, but there was talk of a new contract for Adama before he left.
I think Neves will stay.
I'd love to think so. I've got my doubts, though. But if he does, happy days. But I don't see us having Moutinho and Neves next season. Let's put it that way. So we're going to need a bit of experience back in that team because we can't be going with Dendoncker and Moutinho if he stays, and Neves if he stays. So for me, if you can integrate Gibbs White into that midfield, like Tyler says, I don't see any reason he can't play in the 3 midfield. I think he could be quite effective there.
Interesting. I mean, I see him as very much as a luxury creative player. Wonderful touch, some spectacular goals.
So's Trincao, and you want to sign him.
So's Podence.
So's Podence. So's Neto, if we're being totally honest. Neto's exactly the same. So
we know Ryan don't like
hang on a second, guys. Are you comparing Morgan Gibbs-White in the same conversation as Pedro Neto and Daniel Podence, 2 capped international footballers for their country?
If he plays,
they're luxuries. Daniel Podence is a luxury. He plays at the 10. He plays.
But he's a productive luxury. He makes it happen.
I sent you a text about his goals and assists, mate, and they're nowhere near where they need to be. So, you know.
Again, I would say that these players are a victim of the setup as well. Same as Raul. If you put these boys in a 4-2-3-1, yes, we'll be more vulnerable, but yes, we'll score more goals and we'll play more attacking football. And it'll be better.
Look at Leeds second half. We're vulnerable anyway. So I still don't. I know we don't want to go on, but I still don't get this argument that we can't play with the back 4.
Like, I don't understand.
Palace murdered us with the back 3. Leeds put 3 past us with the back. You know, and these are Leeds and Crystal Palace. They murdered us. So
yeah. So Gibbs White next season, then, guys. Like I said, if I could get him in a number 10 and have a little look at the formation change, yes. For me, if he's playing wide left or right, I don't see that. Interesting one, what Knocker said in terms of what the Dendoncker kind of role of getting forward. But then are you going to get the defensive work, which Dendoncker provides so well in terms of defensively in the air and tracking back with some of the work he did very well at Everton? I don't think we'll see that from but it's, well, as you said, Tyler, though. Let me just finish. But as you said, though, it's a nice problem to have. He comes back for pre-season. Let's have a look at him and let's find out. Tyler.
One word answer from both of you. Gibbs White or Hwang?
Gibbs White every day of the week. I know that's not a one word answer, but
Gibbs White.
There you go, sir.
We've got him.
But it's true though, because if he'd have had the opportunities this season that Trincau's had, You
Done me.
telling me he'd be
Tyler's
on less
absolutely
goals
done
or
me.
assists?
I thought he might still go Wang. I thought he couldn't do it to himself.
I've had to, mate. I've got to be.
You could feel the pain. Then, couldn't you?
I say this, and I tweet this all the time. If I am wrong about something that affects Wolves,
Exactly, it's good.
and it's for the benefit of the club that we love, I'm happy to be wrong. If he comes back and smashes it, I'll wave a flag. I'm wrong. I'm an idiot. That's fine, because Wolverhampton Wanderers will be progressing from a better footballer. I'm absolutely, my first priority is Wolves and being successful. We're on here to give opinions. I'm quite often wrong. I love it when I'm right, but if I'm wrong and it's to the benefit of our football club, I will lap that up. Right, let's have another question. I can't believe you've done me there, Tyler. I'm not well. It's my first show back. I'm trying to breathe. All right, and you've done me. Got one more question here. This show is absolutely flying by. Hayden O'Connor, fought against the introduction of 5 subs for next season. Why do you think the clubs who rejected it 3 times are now in favour of it? We'll start you off with that one, Knocker.
I don't think it. I think it benefits the big boys. It depends what kind of stipulations they're bringing, doesn't it? If it's the case that you've got to have an under-23 player as your third and fourth and fifth sub, then maybe there's something in it there. But if it's just a free for all and you're offering Man City, Liverpool, United, Chelsea a chance to change basically half their team, I think it's a real problem for teams like us. As to why they've changed their mind, I've absolutely no idea. If they've been offered a bit of a sweeter on the back of it, do they know a little bit more about the stipulations than we do, potentially? But me, I don't think it's necessary. I don't think you need 5 substitutions.
I'm all for protecting athletes from injuries and stuff like that, but it's a physical, strong, demanding game, and it will, for me, it only benefits the bigger teams with the bigger budgets and the bigger squads. This is the dream come true for Man City and Chelsea and Liverpool, because these guys have got pretty much, I mean, particularly Man City have got 2 squads, and if you can change half the outfield when you're bringing on all that quality, it makes it even tougher for teams like us and even tougher for teams below us. Financially, it's probably better for the game. More signings, bigger squads, more advertising. It just keeps the Premier League money wheel turning.
But your lower league takes a hit, though, doesn't it? Because players who potentially go out on loan could now end up sitting on a bench. So is that going to stifle the development of the national teams going forward?
Let's turn that round a little bit as well. Those players that could go out on loan could now get minutes because they were the fourth or fifth choice. So doesn't it give them more of a chance as well?
But if Gibbs White was still at Wolves this season as our 5th substitution, would he have had the kind of impact for Wolves he's had for Sheffield United? And would he be the player he is now because he's advanced playing football week in, week out?
He would, because I'd be picking him over Hwang.
I'll pick you over Wangson, to be honest. But I think the point is a footballer develops from playing. You look at some of the best players in the world now. Your Harry Kane, he went out on loan. Beckham went out on loan. All these experienced players who've been through the game have all had good long loan periods where they've been out, they've played football, they've cut their teeth in the lower league, they've come back in and played. I just think if you're risking the next Harry Kane as sitting on a bench for Man City, getting 5 minutes against Wolves when you're 3 up, or 5 minutes against Burnley when they're 3 up in the last few minutes, is that the same kind of development? And I think we keep going back to Morgan Gibbs White, but Sheffield United fans absolutely raving about him because he's week in, week out. He's playing football. If he was at Wolves, he'd be the player that we're still thinking right at the end of the season he's probably gone. So it's, for me, you can't. There's no substitute for playing football.
No, you're right, and he's going back to Morgan. It's coming to crunch time. I think he's 23 next birthday. I mean, I often compare him. I think Buendia's a better footballer, but you look at Buendia, 19 assists and like 23 goals in that Norwich team that blitzed the Championship. Comes up. He's not. I mean, he'll probably score against Wolves on Saturday now, but he's a player that's struggling to cut it fully in the Premier League, and he did that previously as well. So, are you still there, boys, or have I lost you?
Yeah. It's a no, just on back to the question. It's a no from me, and the bit I don't like about this is, and I think I mentioned on the podcast before, the breaks in the game as well. And I know they probably won't be able to make 5 individual substitutions because that'll just be stupid, but. The football seems to be spending more and more time not in play, especially in the Premier League. There's always a reason for a stop. A goal kick can take a minute. You know, and Wolves have done it themselves. So I just find also another impact on the game where
slowing the game down.
From having a drinks break or an adverts break, they're going to be used as tactical substitutions.
Of course.
Well, the other question I had was around the concussion. You know, 5 subs, but then if you can still have your concussion subs,
6,
essentially 6,
basically 6, 7. Well, Brentford had 2, didn't they? So you're sort of thinking, well, it's going to get to the point where you can probably change 6, 7, 8 players, and I just don't think that sits right for me.
No,
I think you make a really good point there, because potentially, if both teams were to make 5 substitutions each, you're talking 5 minutes injury time before you've even taken injuries into account. So you could have games.
That's my point.
20, 25 minutes injury
I'm
time.
pretty sure. I can't remember what the competition was, but
They
previously,
have to make 2 together.
yes, that's right. Yeah, I think they have to be. They can't be like
Double
5
subs.
separate subs. I think they have to double up on 2 of them. So it can't, otherwise, because potentially you're stopping for 10 substitutions in a game, and you're
But like Locker says, that if both teams do that at the same time, that's 2 minutes to get 4 players off the pitch and 4 other ones back up. That's my main concern. I think the game is flowing a lot less every time I watch a game of football.
I'd agree with that.
And I think this will just throw another one into it.
Yeah, I agree. It's not.
There's so many stoppages.
It's not for me, but I think it's happening. We've got 15 minutes left.
We
boys.
don't need it, though. That's the whole
things
point.
to talk about. Max Kilman left out of the England squad. Unfortunately, Southgate came to watch him at the wrong time, but otherwise, he's Wolves one of Wolves' best players, probably Wolves' best defender this season. He's been nothing sort of sensational, so I think he's been hard done by, guys.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me as much as it seems to bother a lot of Wolves fans. But, I think he's played 50 top flight games. He's still learning his trade.
But that's irrelevant, though. If you're playing well, he's probably had 2 or 3, 2 poor games, 1 average game, and the rest has been brilliant. But he's left.
Tamura's at AC Milan, top of Serie A, and he can't get in the squad.
Yeah,
you could make an argument about every single player. Are they worth their place in the squad? We could all go through it and we'd all agree and disagree. I personally think he had an off month or so. Like you say, Ryan, Southgate probably watched him at the wrong time. Is he good enough to play for England? I'll put my mortgage on that one day he'll play for England. No hesitation whatsoever. But it doesn't bother me that he's still just learning and applying the trade at Wolves at the moment. That's my opinion.
Knocker?
Yeah, I'm kind of similar. I didn't really think he would get called up. It's similar to Conor Cody. He gave him a full season of playing before he properly looked at him. The only thing I found strange was that he called that lad up from Palace, who's a good footballer, no question about it. But defensively, we've got a better record. So I was a little bit surprised maybe Kilman didn't get the shout on that. But I'm with Chris on this. I'm not overly fussed because there's no doubt his opportunity is going to come.
Yeah, I mean, I feel a bit sorry for him because obviously with the stuff that's going on in the Ukraine, he's got family there. That timing coming across and losing his partner next to him in Semedo, I think that came at the wrong time. Those 2 things, and it sort of weakened his game when a player that was been dribbling out of defence, good on both feet, he's been mussing everyone out of the way. He dominated Antonio at Molineux. He just, I feel a little bit short change for him, to be honest. But anyway, let's sort of move that England topic into the next one now. In the wake of Harry Maguire, definitely don't boo him. Harry Maguire being booed a couple of nights ago at Wembley. I just wanted to get your take and discuss player criticism and booing. Now, my take on the Harry Maguire situation, I don't know what you guys think. I think there was, first of all, I don't agree with it. I don't think you should be booing England players when they're playing for their country. My take is I think some fans were letting their frustration out that how is this guy in the squad? Because let's be honest, he should be nowhere. Based on past performances, he's done very well for England. But as Gareth Southgate said at the start of his tenure, I'll pick players on form. Harry Maguire is having an absolute stinker of a season, yet still gets picked. Now, were the boos aimed at Maguire, or was it a frustration that he's still being picked in the team? Start us off, Tyler.
I personally, I don't know. Obviously, we don't know why people boo. Only the people that boo know why they boo. I personally think it was the fact he was sort of in the team and selected. I don't think it was anything personal at him. I think Southgate has also, made the rod for his back now that he's playing players that have not let him down, and that seems to be the way he sort of goes.
But that's not what he said when he took over. I'll pick players on form, he said.
But he's allowed to change his mind. He's allowed to pick Jordan Pickford, who a lot of people would argue is not the best English goalkeeper. He's never let Gareth down. He plays Maguire. Mings and Cody, and I'll put Cody in this, are nowhere near good enough for me to be in that England 11. Nowhere near.
Not in a 2 anyway.
But they've never let him down. Cody's local. He's a leader in the squad. Mings has never let him down, to be fair. Scored a couple of goals. there's obviously that he's trying to get that balance of the people he can really trust upon, and he sees Maguire as one of those. I'm agree with you. He didn't need to be booed. He's never really let England down.
He hasn't.
He might be crap for Man United, but to be honest, I don't really care because I don't support Man United. I want England to do well. So as long as he's playing well for England,
that's a really good point. But at that point, then, regardless, let's say his form continued like this for next season. When's the point then? And what's the other point in looking at the other guys? At what other point do you think I need to look at someone else here? Because you know what? He's not playing well, and he's not played well for a year. At what point do you look at Tamori or do you look at Kilman?
He played well the other night. His distribution was good.
Who was he playing against, mate? Come on.
Well, that argument.
But that's not his fault, though, is it?
No, you can only. And that's
not an argument. And Ivory Coast have actually just got a draw in France, and they nearly won the game. It was a last minute goal.
Who did?
Conceded. Ivory Coast got a draw in France,
Friendlies.
and they were second. Well, you can't use your argument to make it work for you.
I can do whatever I want, mate.
You play international. You play, and so can Gareth, Ryan.
That's fair.
And if he wants to come out now and say, "Well, actually, he's never let me down. I'm going to pick him." He's the England manager. He's the only person that can make that decision. We can talk about it again till we're blue in the face. If he's playing well for England and he doesn't let England down, he's going to keep playing for England.
The reality is, though, when you look at where we've got to in the last two tournaments, we've got to a World Cup semi-final and a European Championship final. You've got to keep your spine of your team to do that. You've got to have the element of players that you trust and keep them coming in because it's worked, hasn't it? I mean, you can't criticise Gareth Southgate on where we are as a nation now because arguably he's the most, well, there's no argument about it, he's the best England manager since we won the tournament.
I know we're going to. So I know I'm going to put a slight curveball on this, but we should have got to that semi-final. It was an easy route. England should have beat Italy. We should have beat Croatia, and we should have beat Italy. We should have been a World Cup finalist, and we should have won. But this is maybe we'll do an England.
We should have beat Iceland, though. We should have beat Iceland, and we got knocked out. You just because you should beat a team doesn't mean you've got any right to win it. We beat who was in front of us. We got ourselves into a final. We beat Sweden. How many other England managers have beat Sweden? They always seem to get a result against us.
Yeah, go on, Tyler. Well recovered.
I think the other point on that is, if people are booing him, they're allowed to boo him. They paid their money. They paid their ticket. Fans still need a voice. If a football fan doesn't have a voice, what do they have?
Yeah.
So
why can't
they boo him? Look at Beckham after 90. England players have been booed over the years.
On that point, though, boys. On that point. In the new age of social media, I could not believe, and I tweeted about it, I could not believe that Spurs tweet, "We stand with you, Harry." Or what?
We stand with you.
What? You got booed at a friendly football match? Come on, mate. You know what? I don't condone the booing, but like you, Tyler, if people want to boo, that's up to them. I'm not going to tell people what to do. It's not for me. I'm not going to boo an England player. It's not for me. But maybe, like I said, it was being voiced at the manager for picking him or for being in the squad. I don't know. It's not for me. However, we don't need like great big Instagram posts from all his colleagues, and you'd think something terrible would happen to him.
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah. I was talking when Ndombele got booed off at Spurs by his own team, in the whole state, his own fans. I didn't see Spurs tweeting then. We stand with you then, Tanguy. I didn't see that then. It's just honestly, I just think it was political point scoring from the Spurs admin. Honestly, what a joke. Knocker.
No, I mean, I don't agree with booing players, but I've got no issue with people doing. I mean, if Wolves get beat, I don't boo. I just go home. But I mean, how far do you go with it? You know, when players are getting booed off after a defeat, you're going to start tweeting about that and saying that we stand with the players who've just blown a 2-goal lead against a team who are in relegation battle. You know, you've got to be realistic, haven't you? It's part and parcel of the game. If you can't deal with it, then don't be a part of the game. So I wouldn't boo Maguire. I wouldn't boo any player in an English shirt, regardless of who he played for. But if people want to do that and they want to voice their frustrations, then, carry on if that's what you want to do.
I think you've nailed it, Ryan. It's the world we live in now. It's a bit of a snowflake society. Social media's everywhere. Who was the one? John Joe Shelvey tweeted about how he played badly, but Newcastle had won the game, and he sent a tweet out. Did you see that one? Oh, I'm sorry for my performance. Newcastle had won. Bruno Fernandes sends a tweet of a transcript
missing a penalty.
I mean, get me back into the 90s quick and football then, because this.
Could you imagine Knocker dropping his boss an email apologising because he didn't make a nice cup of tea?
Well, it's like
That's
Steve
what it
Ball
is.
back in the
It's
day when he headbutted
ridiculous.
Steve Walsh. He didn't fire
Yeah.
out an apologetic email afterwards. You know, it's football. It's part and
It's
parcel. If you
just the
make a
world we live in.
mistake, you make a mistake. If you
Right,
apologise
guys,
for something, you've had a sense that you meant to do it. So no, I think it's pathetic.
we've got 5 minutes left. We've got 5 minutes left. It's flown by, so it's time to talk about what we don't really want to talk about because we're playing Aston Villa the weekend. Now, we know we've had loads of this. They've just had 2 players scored for England. We've just lost 2 of our best players. This is going to be a hard game. I mean, the bookies have them down as slight favourites. I would agree with that now. It's a massive test. It's a massive game to face after you've just blown a 2-goal lead, which ironically is what happened at Villa Park the other way around. All the boxes and the dials are set for some Villa revenge here. But this is a local derby. Anything can happen. Tyler, start me off on this Villa game.
To be honest, I think Villa are quite warm to hot favourites. I think Wolverhampton Wanderers, without Neves and Jimenez in it, I just don't think we're the same team, to be honest. And I think they'll probably get control of the midfield. Coutinho looks, I mean, he might play for Villa. He looks a world-class operator at the moment, doesn't he? So I think they'll just have a bit too much for us, unfortunately. Like you, I'd love to be proved wrong. But yeah, without those 2 key players, I think we're up against it. So I think they'll win it by the odd goal, potentially.
So, Knocker, with Neves being out and Jimenez being out, is our hand forced now that we can only go with a 2-man midfield? And because Trincão's cameo was fantastic, does he come in? Does Fabio Silva start? What are we going to do with the setup?
I think he'll want a 3-man midfield personally. Whether that means he brings Kundal in like he did at Spurs,
but he likes to play Trincão on the side as well, doesn't he? Over 3.
He does like to play Trincão. I mean, I'm kind of with Chris on this one. I'd love to be wrong, but I just think losing Raul and losing Neves makes us really, really vulnerable. And we've just blown a lead defensively. We're shambolic at the minute, and they owe us one, don't they? For being totally honest, so yeah, I think they're going to be up for it. So I don't know. I think it's a real difficult game for us. But like you say, it's a local derby. Personally, I think we'll set up not to lose the game and see if we can try and pinch something. It's kind of a dead rubber in many ways, isn't it? Because both teams are going to finish around about where they are now. So I don't know. I've got a suspicion he might go with the 3 and bring Kundal into the team. That's my little take on it. But we'll see. We'll see where we go.
Yeah, I think we struggled so much without a focal point. I think he has to start Fabio. Now, we've seen Hwang through the middle a couple of times, particularly away at Villa Park, and he just...
Have we? Have we?
Well, he was there.
He was on the pitch.
We've seen him stand there, yeah.
Okay, he's been in the position when he's been asked to play as a number 9. I do apologise, Christopher. But he's definitely not a number 9 player. He's. I know he's had some criticism on here, but he's better for me narrow. I prefer it when he's getting the ball and running wide left or right, but certainly not a player that holds up the ball well or offers it there.
But if you're not going to play Fabio now, you might as well get rid of him, ain't you? Because
I think Fabio has to start. I mean, I'd like to see Fabio in between Podence and Trincão, and Matinho and Dendoncker. Otto, I don't think Semedo's ready. Otto ain't Nori. And I'd like to see a Kilman come in for Sace, and Bolly on the right hand side with Cody in the middle. I think that gives us an attacking chance. I quite like the football that potentially offers. If Neto's fit, we'll maybe look at him. But I'd like to see Fabio in between Podence and Trincão, 2 pure footballers that his little one touches and his link-up play we can get the most out of. So, right then, it's that time of the show when we're going to ask you for your predictions. Now, I'm not looking forward to this. We'll start with Tyler.
Yeah, like I said, I think they'll beat us. I think 2-1 to Villa. Coutinho, first goal scorer. Sorry, I just can't. Without them 2, I just can't.
We've got 3 viewers now, son. Knocker.
See, I can't go for a Villa win at Molineux. I just can't do it. So I'll go for a 1-1 draw. But I do think Coutinho's going to absolutely rip us apart. So Coutinho with the opener 1-1.
Well, I've done it before, and I'll do it again. I'm going to go for a Wolves win because you 2 have just basically peed on my chips, and I've got no choice. I'm in that position, so I'm going to go Fabio Silva and Wolves 2-0. Let's just throw it out there. Why not?
Give yourself a chance, son, for God's sake.
A quick shout out to Hodger and his guard. Came late to the show, but thanks for your comment and watching. Thank you, everyone, as usual, for your comments. Again, apologies for the lack of the Wolves report recently. I've not been very well. I've not been up to it. I hope you've enjoyed the show today. Thank you so much to Chris Tyler and to Mark Knock. I'm Ryan Lester. This has been episode 25 of the Wolves report. Up the Wolves.